I had fainted, unless I believed to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thy heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Psalm 27:13, verse 13 through 14. Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to the broadcast. I am Sean, your host, and the website is www.scriptureandprophecy.com, and we are resuming our study in the ancient book of Jubilees found with the Dead Sea Scrolls. We're ready for chapters 44 and 45, dealing with Jacob going down into Egypt to meet Joseph. And then we have the death of Jacob recorded also. So we're going to be reading 44 and 45, and we're very close to being finished. There's only 50 chapters in the book of Jubilees, which I suppose is fitting for a book called Jubilee. Looks like next week we'll start dealing with Moses, a little bit about Moses, the birth and the childhood of Moses. But today it's Jacob going down into Egypt and the death of Jacob. Not as exciting as the first half of the book. You know, we're kind of just dealing with a lot of history at this point. But I do believe that it could speak to our hearts nonetheless. And we should always be willing to, no matter what part of the scriptures we're reading, we should always be opening, and really with anything in life, we should always have an open heart and see if God might speak to us through whatever it is. So that's what's on the agenda this morning. I just want to take 20 seconds to thank all of you for just listening to the podcast, downloading it every day, praying for me, my family, praying for the podcast. I want to thank all of you who support the podcast financially through Patreon, through PayPal, through the post office box. I appreciate it so much, and you guys make it possible, because if you weren't listening, you weren't downloading, and you weren't being blessed by it, then I wouldn't have the inclination or the great privilege to do this work, which has become my life's work. And so thank you to all of you. All right, let's jump in. We're ready for chapter 44 in the ancient book of Jubilees. Verse 1. And Israel took his journey from Haran, from his house on the new moon and on the 3rd month, and he went on the way of the well of the oath, and he offered a sacrifice to God of his father Isaac on the 7th of this month. And Jacob remembered the dream that he had seen at Bethel, and he feared to go down into Egypt. And while he was thinking of sending word to Joseph to come to him, and that he would not go down, he remained there 7 days, if perchance he should see a vision as to whether he should remain or go down. By the way, I have to stop already. I just thought that was interesting. Jacob's having some anxiety about the idea of going down into Egypt. He doesn't feel right about it. And he's thinking about sending word to Joseph that instead of him coming down, that Joseph would come to him. But he thought, you know what? I'm going to hang out here in this spot for 7 days, on the off chance that I might get a vision or hear from God on this matter. I just read that verse from Psalms to start the broadcast. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thy heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. And sometimes we need to just stop for a minute and wait for a minute and see if the Lord will speak to us on a matter. But here's the big difference, is Jacob actually believes that there's a chance that God will actually speak to him and tell him what is right? What is up? What is down? What way do I go? What steps should I take? There's an issue in my life that I'm very stressed out about, and I've actually been praying about for a very, 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 very long time. And it's one of those things that's finally now coming down to the wire. And so I would ask that you would join me in praying. God knows what I'm talking about. That you would take 30 seconds to say a prayer for me and my family on this issue. But I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see if God will show me what to do, or if he might just work it out himself. And so I just thought that was interesting, and maybe a lesson for us. So Jacob's saying, I'm going to hang out here 7 days on the pre-chance that I might see a vision from God. Let me read that verse again. And while he was thinking of sending word to Joseph to come to him, and that he would not go down, he remained there 7 days, if perchance he should see a vision as to whether he should remain or go down. Verse 4. And he celebrated the harvest festival of the first fruits with old grain. For in all the land of Canaan there was not a handful of seed in the land, for the famine was over all the beasts and cattle and birds, and also over man. And on the 16th the Lord appeared unto him, and said unto him, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here I am. And he said unto him, I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham and Isaac. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make thee a great nation. I shall go down with thee, and I shall bring thee up again. And in this land wilt thou be buried, and Joseph will put his hands upon thy eyes. Fear not, go down into Egypt. And his sons rose up, and his sons, and they placed their father and their possessions on wagons. And Israel rose up from the well of the oath on the 16th of this 3rd month, and he went to the land of Egypt. And Israel sent Judah before him to his son Joseph to examine the land of Goshen. For Joseph had told his brothers that they should come and dwell there, that they might be near him. And this was the goodliest land in the land of Egypt, and near to him for all of them, and also for the cattle. And these are the names of the sons of Jacob, who went into Egypt with Jacob their father. Reuben, the firstborn of Israel. And these are the names of his sons, Enoch, and Palu, and Hezron, and Carmi. Simeon and his sons, and these are the names of his sons, Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, and Zohar, and Shaul, and the son of the Zephonite woman. Levi and his sons, and these are the names of his sons, Gershon, and Kohath, and Merari. Judah and his sons, and these are the names of his sons, Shelah, and Perez, and Zerah. Ishkar and his sons, and these are the names of his sons, Tola, Puah, and Jezub, and Shimron. Zublion and his sons, and these are the names of his sons, Serad, and Elon, and Jaleel. And these are the sons of Jacob, their sons, whom Leah bore to Jacob in Mesopotamia, 6, and their one sister Dinah. And all the souls of the sons of Leah and their sons, who went with Jacob their father into Egypt, were 29. And Jacob their father being with them, they were 30. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, and the wife of Jacob, whom she bore unto Jacob, Gad and Asher. And these are the names of their sons, who went with him into Egypt, the sons of Gad, Ziphion, and Haggai, and Shuni, and Esbon, and Eri, and Ereliah, and Erodi. And these are the sons of Asher, Imnah, and Ishva, and Berah, and Sarah, their one sister. And all the souls were 14, and all those of Leah were 44. And the sons of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, Joseph and Benjamin. And there were born to Joseph in Egypt before their father came into Egypt, those whom Asenath, daughter of Potiphar priest of Philippius, bare unto him, Manasseh and Ephraim. And the sons of Benjamin, Bela and Betcher, and Ashbel, Gera, Naaman, and Ehi, and Rosh, and Muppin, and Humpin, and Ard. And all the souls of Rachel were 14. And the sons of Bilhah, the handmaid of Rachel, the wife of Jacob, whom she bare to Jacob were Dan and Naphtali. And these are the names of their sons who went with them into Egypt. And the sons of Dan were Hushim and Saman, and Asudi, and Jakah, and Solomon. And they died in the year in which they entered into Egypt. And there was left to Dan Hushim alone. And these are the names of the sons of Naphtali: Jaziel, Guni, Jezir, and Shulim, and Iv. And Iv, who was born after the years of the famine, died in Egypt. And all the souls of Rachel were 26. And all the souls of Jacob went into Egypt were 70 souls. These are his children, and his children's children, in all 70. But 5 died in Egypt before Joseph, and had no children. And in the land of Canaan 2 sons of Judah died, Er and Onan. And they had no children. And the children of Israel buried those who perished, and they were reckoned among the 70 Gentile nations. Alright, so that's chapter 44. And now we're going to read chapter 45, which deals with the move to Egypt and the death of Jacob. Verse 1. And Israel went into the country of Egypt, into the land of Goshen, on the new moon of the 4th month in the 2nd year of the 3rd week of the 45th Jubilee. And Joseph went to meet his father to the land of Goshen, and he fell on his father's neck and wept. And Israel said unto Joseph, Now let me die, since I have seen thee, and now may the Lord God of Israel be blessed, the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac, who hath not withheld his mercy and his grace from his servant Jacob. It is enough for me that I have seen thy face, whilst I am yet alive. Yea, true is the vision which I saw at Bethel. Blessed be the Lord my God forever and ever, and blessed be his name. And Joseph and his brothers ate bread before their father and drank wine, and Jacob rejoiced with exceedingly great joy, because he saw Joseph eating with his brothers and drinking before him. And he blessed the Creator of all things, who had preserved him, and had preserved for him his 12 sons. And Joseph had given to his father and to his brothers a gift, the right of dwelling in the land of Goshen, and in the Ramses, in all the region round about, which he ruled over before Pharaoh. And Israel and his sons dwelt in the land of Goshen, the best part of the land of Egypt. And Israel was 130 years old when he came into Egypt. And Joseph nourished his father and his brethren, and also their possessions, with bread, as much sufficed them for 7 years of the famine. And the land of Egypt suffered by reason of the famine. And Joseph acquired all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh in return for food, and he got possessions of the people and their cattle and everything for Pharaoh. And the years of the famine were accomplished, and Joseph gave to the people in the land seed and food, that they might sow the land in Egypt the 8th year. For the river had overflowed all the land of Egypt. For in the 7 years of the famine it had not overflowed, and had irrigated only a few places on the banks of the river. But now it overflowed, and the Egyptians sowed the land, and it bore much corn that year. And this was the 1st year of the 4th week of the 45th Jubilee. And Joseph took of the corn of the harvest, and the 5th part for the king, and left 4 parts for them for food, for seed. And Joseph made an ordinance for the land of Egypt until this day. And Israel lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, and all the days which he lived there were 3 Jubilees, 147 years. And he died in the 4th year of the 5th week of the 45th Jubilee. And Israel blessed his sons before he died, and told them everything that would befall them in the land of Egypt. And he made known to them what would come upon them in the last days, and blessed them, and gave to Joseph 2 portions in the land. And he slept with his fathers, and he was buried in a double cave in the land of Canaan near Abraham, and his father in a grave which he had dug himself in a double cave in the land of Hebron. And he gave all his books and all the books of his fathers to Levi his son, that he might preserve them and renew them for his children until this day. And that, my friends, is chapter 44 and 45 of the book of Jubilees. interesting that Jacob had books that were passed down. And I'd be curious to know exactly what these books were, because you wouldn't have had it wouldn't have been like what you call your Bible today, as an example, because, Moses wrote that, and Moses is not part of the story yet. So I'm interested to know what those books might have been. And maybe it's some of the stuff that's being found and uncovered in the Dead Sea Scrolls. But not only that, Jacob happened to have an idea of what was getting ready to happen to his seed. And so it says here, before he died, he warned them what was going to happen to them in Egypt. And maybe he knew that in advance, which is why he was so scared about going down into Egypt to begin with. Maybe he had a prophecy already about that. Who knows? Very, very interesting. And it's just one of the reasons why I love, the Dead Sea Scrolls and, some of these other books that have been passed down for centuries. I just think they have a lot of gaps to fill for us, and there's a lot to it. I think the Dead Sea Scrolls is a miracle from God, given to us in these last days. The book of Enoch, as an example, even says that this book is not for this generation, but for the generation in the distant future, which I believe meaning our generation, which is why it's been so widely uncovered and available here in these last days. So very, very interesting. That's just kind of my thoughts on it. And I hope you're being blessed by it. I know it's not been as exciting for the last few chapters, because we're just kind of dealing with some basic history that we already kind of know from the book of Genesis. But I think it's still valuable information. So next week we'll do 46 and 47. 46, 47. Maybe we'll try to fit in... No, we won't be able to fit in 40... Maybe we'll try to fit in 48. And then the last two chapters is just laws regarding Passover regulations and laws regarding the Jubilees and Sabbaths. So that'll be what we ended on. So basically we got 2 weeks worth of the Jubilee study left. Well, I pray you've been blessed, and God has spoke to you in some manner and has planted some type of seed in your heart. Again, thank you so much for making this possible, and thank you for your prayers. And again, your prayers are much needed. I'm always in desperate need of prayer. I feel like I'm constantly dealing with at least spiritual opposition, so your prayers are much coveted. That's all I have for you this morning. I don't want to just ramble for the sake of rambling. Peace and grace be upon you, and until next time, God bless.